My girlfriend said, "If you really loved me, you'd chase me," I answered. "Real love doesn't beg." She packed a bag to test me. I held the door open. 3 weeks later, she came back with roses, tears, and a story about soulmates. But I had already chosen peace. Original post: I'm Caleb, 32, and until 6 weeks ago, I thought Avery was the woman I would marry. Avery was 29. We had been together almost 3 years and living in my townhouse in Charlotte for 10 months. The lease was in my name because I had the place before we got serious, but I never treated it like only mine. I gave her the bigger closet, turned the guest room into her office, and gave her space for plants, candles, and her laptop. I loved her in the everyday way: gas in her car, soup when she was sick, coffee the way she liked it. But Avery had one habit that slowly wore me down. Whenever we disagreed, she turned love into a test. If I loved her, I would know what she meant without asking. If I loved her, I would cancel plans before she asked. If I loved her, I would chase her when she walked away. At first, I thought it was insecurity, so I comforted her. Then I realized it was control dressed up like romance. The final argument started on a Saturday night. We were supposed to meet my sister Brooke and her husband Mason at a small Italian restaurant downtown. Brooke had just had a rough month at work, and I wanted to show up for her. Avery knew this. She had agreed to come. At 6:50, she was still in sweatpants on the bedroom floor, scrolling through her phone. I asked calmly, "Are you still coming?" She didn't look up. "I don't know, Caleb. Maybe you should go without me since your sister is clearly more important." I took a breath. "I already knew the road we were on," I said. "That's not fair. You're invited. I want you there, but I'm not canceling on Brooke." Avery laughed, that cold little laugh that meant the test had started. "Wow, so that's your choice." "My choice is to keep plans we both agreed to." She stood up fast, like she had been waiting for her cue. "Maybe I should leave for a while." Then she grabbed her weekend bag and started throwing clothes into it, loudly. Shoes hitting the floor, drawers slamming. I stood in the doorway, not blocking her, not begging, just standing. She looked at me with tears already prepared. "If you really loved me, you'd chase me." That sentence made everything clear. I saw every other time she had done it. The night she left a restaurant and waited for me to run after her. The time she blocked me, then got mad because I did not call from my work phone. I was tired, not sleepy tired. Nervous system under a fire alarm tired, so I said, "Real love doesn't beg." She froze. I continued, "If you want to leave, I won't stop you. If this is a test, I'm not taking it." Her face changed from wounded to offended. "You're really going to let me walk out? I'm respecting your choice." She zipped the bag and pushed past me. At the front door, she paused with her hand on the knob. Waiting, I said nothing. She opened it, still waiting. I picked up my keys and said, "I'm late for dinner." She stared like I had slapped her, then she walked out. I locked the door behind her and drove to the restaurant. I didn't tell Brooke right away. I sat down, ordered water, and tried to act normal, but sisters know. Halfway through the appetizer, Brooke asked, "What did she do this time?" I told them. Mason shook his head and said, "Man, that's not love. That's a hostage situation with scented candles." I laughed for the first time all night. By the time I got home, I had 23 missed calls, 14 texts, and 2 voice notes. The texts went from anger to guilt to panic. "You really let me leave. I guess I finally know how little I matter. Caleb, answer me." Then the line I knew was coming. I didn't mean it. I just wanted to see if you cared. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied once. "I cared for 3 years. I'm done proving it by hurting myself." I put my phone on silent and slept in a quiet house. Update 1: 4 days later, Avery did not come home that night. She stayed with her friend Kelsey, which I knew because Kelsey texted me the next morning. "Hey, I don't want to get involved, but Avery is really upset. She says you abandoned her," I replied. "She packed a bag and left after saying I had to chase her to prove love. I didn't chase. That's not abandonment." Kelsey went silent for 3 hours, then wrote, "Okay, she left that part out." Of course she did. That became the theme of the week. Avery told people I had gone cold. She told them I made her feel unwanted. She told them I chose my sister over her. She did not mention the bag, the test, or the fact that she stood at the door waiting for a performance. On day 2, her brother Troy called me. Troy had always been decent, so I answered. He said, "Bro, what happened?" "Avery says you kicked her out," I said. "She packed her own bag." Silence. Then he sighed. "She did the chase me thing, didn't she?" "That told me everything," I said. "Apparently it's not new." "She's been doing that since high school," he said. "My mom calls it her movie scene problem." That night, Avery came by the townhouse. I saw her on the doorbell camera before she knocked. She wore the navy sweater I bought her for Christmas, hair perfect, makeup soft, sad but pretty, like she had dressed for a reconciliation scene. I opened the door but kept the chain on. Her eyes went straight to the chain. "Really? What do you need?" She blinked. "What do I need, Caleb? I live here. You left. For 4 days. You said maybe you should leave for a while, then you left. I'm not doing the revolving door anymore." Her eyes filled instantly. "You're being cruel." "No, I'm being clear." She tried to step closer, but the chain stopped the door. "So what? You're breaking up with me because I wanted to feel loved." "I'm breaking up because you keep using fear to measure love." She looked like she hated that sentence because it landed. Then she switched tactics, soft voice. "I miss you. I just wanted you to fight for me." "I did fight for you for years. I fought my own peace, my own instincts, my own boundaries. I'm done fighting myself." The soft voice disappeared. "You'll regret this. Maybe, but I'll survive it." I passed her a small box through the door, chargers, makeup bag, a necklace from the bathroom shelf. I had packed it carefully. That made her angrier than if I had thrown it together. "You already packed my stuff. Some of it. We can schedule the rest." She stared at me, waiting for me to crack. I didn't. Finally, she walked to her car. The next morning, I changed the garage code, emailed the landlord to remove her parking access, and called a locksmith. It cost $145, worth every dollar. That same day at work, my supervisor Dana pulled me into a meeting. I'm a logistics coordinator for a medical supply company, and we were short-staffed after a shipping mess. Normally, a week like this would have crushed me, but without constant emotional drama on my phone, I was focused. By Friday, Dana said, "Whatever you're doing differently, keep doing it." I didn't tell her the secret was heartbreak and a new lock. But I had not felt that clear in months. Update 2. 3 weeks later, I wish I could say Avery accepted the breakup with grace. She did not. Week 2 started with a Venmo request for $680. The note said, "Emotional damages and shared home expenses." Avery had lived with me for 10 months and paid rent exactly twice. Not half the rent. Just $300 each time when she said she wanted to contribute. I paid the lease, utilities, internet, most groceries, and the storage unit I had used to make room for her office. I declined the request and wrote, "We are not financially connected. Please stop contacting me." An hour later, she posted, "Sometimes the person you loved becomes a stranger overnight. Then, bare minimum men call your needs drama." Then Kelsey posted them drinking wine with the caption, "Healing Era." I didn't respond. 2 days later, Avery showed up at my workplace. Reception called my desk. "There's an Avery here. She says she dropped off your lunch." I had not asked for lunch. I walked down because I didn't want her wandering around the building. She stood in the lobby holding a paper bag from my favorite sandwich place. Small smile, soft eyes. "I thought you might not be eating. You shouldn't be here." "I brought you food, Caleb." "I didn't ask for food." "Wow, you're really committed to punishing me." I looked at the receptionist, then back at her. "I'm going upstairs. Please leave." She stepped closer and whispered, "You can't just throw away real love." I said quietly, "Real love doesn't need an audience." Her face hardened. Then she raised her voice. "So you can embarrass me in front of everyone, but I can't bring you lunch." Security came out before I asked. Avery left, but not before setting the sandwich bag on the floor like some tragic offering. I documented it. Photo, time, date. That night, Troy texted me. "Just so you know, my mom found out what really happened. She wants to call you." I said okay. Avery's mom, Elise, called an hour later. I expected yelling. I got exhaustion. She said, "Caleb, I'm sorry." That was all it took for me to sit down. She continued, "Avery told me you abandoned her. Then Troy told me about the test. I asked her directly and she got defensive. That means he was right." I didn't know what to say. Elise sighed. "I love my daughter, but love is not supposed to be a courtroom where someone is always proving innocence." That sentence stuck with me. She told me not to answer Avery unless it was about picking up belongings. She said she would try to calm things down. It worked for about 48 hours. Then Avery created a new Instagram account and messaged me a photo of us from a lake trip in Asheville. Caption, "Tell me this wasn't real." I didn't answer. Then another message. "You're letting pride destroy us." Then another. "I hope your sister is happy." That one made me angry, not loud angry, clean angry. I sent one email. "Avery, do not contact me again except to arrange pickup of your belongings. Do not come to my home or workplace. If you continue, I will involve legal help." She replied within 7 minutes. "Legal help? For love? You're insane." I didn't respond. The next Saturday, I rented a small U-Haul van for $49, packed the rest of her things, and moved everything into a climate-controlled storage unit. First month was free, and I paid the second month so nobody could say I dumped her stuff. I emailed Avery the address, unit number, gate code, and deadline. She answered, "You put our life in a storage unit." I wanted to say, "No, you put our life in a test," and I stopped playing, but I didn't. I archived the email. That week, I also said yes to coffee with Natalie. She worked in accounting at a partner company and had always been kind in a normal way. Coffee turned into dinner. I told her I was recently out of a messy relationship and not trying to rush. She said, "Good, I like slow." I cannot explain how peaceful that sentence felt. Final update. 2 months later, the legal part happened because Avery could not leave Natalie alone. I hadn't posted Natalie anywhere. I wasn't trying to make Avery jealous. I was just living. But Charlotte is not as big as people think, and someone saw us at a food truck festival. By that evening, Avery knew. That night, Natalie received a message from an account with no photo. "Just so you know, Caleb abandons women when they need him." Natalie showed me the message the next morning. She wasn't dramatic. She just said, "I assume this is the ex." I said, "Unfortunately." She said, "Do you need to handle it or do I?" That was the first time I realized what a calm person sounds like during conflict. No screaming. No testing. Just a practical question. I called a local attorney on my lunch break. Consultation was $200. The cease and desist letter cost $375. I sent every screenshot, the original text, doorbell footage, lobby notes, Instagram messages, Venmo request, emails. The attorney said this is enough to send a strong letter. If she continues, we discuss a protective order. The letter went out that Friday. Avery's reaction was immediate. Kelsey texted from a new number. "Did you seriously hire a lawyer because a heartbroken woman misses you?" I replied once. "No. I hired a lawyer because she contacted the woman I'm dating and showed up at my workplace." Then I blocked her. Troy texted 5 minutes later. "Mom saw the letter. She's furious at Avery, not you." I didn't answer. There was nothing else to say. Avery picked up her storage unit belongings 2 days before the deadline. The facility emailed that the unit was empty. I closed the account and felt like I had finally removed the last physical piece of the relationship from my life. But emotionally, the last piece came later. About 3 weeks after the cease and desist, I ran into Avery at a grocery store. Not dramatic. Not planned as far as I could tell, just bad luck in the cereal aisle. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just less powerful without an audience. She saw me and froze. I nodded once and kept walking. She said, "Caleb." I stopped but didn't turn fully. She said, "I really did love you." That one hurt, because I believed her. That was the worst part. I don't think Avery was pretending the whole time. I think she loved me in the only way she understood love. Big emotions, Big gestures, big tests, big punishments. She thought if someone suffered for her, that meant they cared. I said, I loved you too. Her eyes filled. Then why couldn't you fight for us? I looked at her then. I did. You just didn't count the quiet ways. She didn't answer. I showed up, I listened, I paid attention, I made room for you, I stayed patient, but you wanted panic. You wanted chasing. You wanted me scared enough to prove myself. That isn't love to me. She wiped her face, angry at the tears. So that's it? That's it. I walked away, no police. No scene. No final speech in the parking lot. Just me putting oatmeal in my cart and going home. A month after that, Dana promoted me to senior logistics lead. It came with a raise. Not life-changing money, but enough to rebuild my savings after the locksmith, attorney, storage, and all the quiet costs of ending a life with someone. Natalie and I are still taking things slow. She has not moved in. We are not rushing toward some perfect ending, but she calls when she says she will. When she is upset, she says, I'm upset, not, guess what you did wrong. She said, can we talk about this after dinner when we're both less annoyed? I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it was normal. And normal felt like a luxury. The townhouse is mine again. The guest room is no longer filled with someone else's candles and silent expectations. I turned it into a small gym. My guitar is back in the corner. Sometimes I still think about Avery. I hope she learns that love is not measured by how loudly someone chases you after you hurt them. Love is measured by how safely both people can stay when things get hard. But I also learned something about myself. I used to think being calm meant being patient forever. It doesn't. Sometimes calm means opening the door and letting someone walk out when they keep threatening to leave. Sometimes love means refusing to perform pain as proof. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is stop auditioning for a role that keeps changing. Avery wanted me to chase her. I chose myself. And for the first time in 3 years, love did not feel like fear. If you've ever been tested, chased, blamed, or made to prove your love in painful ways, tell me in the comments whether you stayed or walked away. Like this story, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more stories about love, boundaries, and starting over.